Today, LAPD released the name of the driver, 48-year-old Kauler Mandeshet. NBC4's Alex Rozier joins us live from Westwood. Alex, do we know anything about motive and possible charges he may be facing?
Annabelle, LAPD said today that he was arrested and booked for reckless driving, though we have not learned what official charge or charges he may be facing, if any. However, a law enforcement source told NBC4 investigates that right now it appears they do not believe that he intended to injure anyone. I want to show you some video from the incident that took place on Veteran Avenue near Federal Building in Westwood Sunday afternoon. You hear people screaming and scrambling as the driver hit the gas. Police say protesters stopped the driver and he was injured by people in the crowd before he was arrested. Protesters were here speaking out against Iran's government and recent economic struggles. A law enforcement source told NBC4 Investigate that right now it seems as if he was overwhelmed by the crowd as he was there to get his message out. Though one protester says the driver's message is the issue.
The protesters had a completely different perception as to what was happening, and that was due to the writing that was across the side of this truck. That rhetoric is not something that Iranians are unfamiliar with. It is rhetoric of a known terrorist group called the Mujahideen, and anything besides some type of terrorism charge or the enforcement of the furthest extent of the law would really be a disservice to what happened and, more importantly, what was prevented yesterday.
This incident took place as protests continue in Iran. According to sources on the ground there, since the start of the protests, more than 500 people have been killed in the country. Authorities cut off the internet there last week, and because of that, protesters here this weekend said that they've struggled to get in touch with family in the country. They want President Trump and the U.S. to step in and help. But as for the incident involving the U-Haul Sunday in Westwood, the big question right now is motive. At this point, law enforcement has not revealed what they believe the motive to be. NBC4 Investigates making calls on that right now. We'll bring you updates as we have them on the NBC4 News at 4. Reporting live, I'm Alex Rozier, NBC4 News.
All right, Alex, thank you very much for that update. Meantime, President Donald Trump is weighing a range of military options against Iran amid the country's crackdown on protests, challenging the regime's rule. This afternoon, the president also announced any country doing business with Iran will face a 25% tariff. He posted to Truth Social that this is effective immediately. The U.S. virtual embassy in Iran is advising Americans in Iran to leave now through either Armenia or Turkey. President Trump is expected to host Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado at the White House on Thursday. The meeting will come less than 2 weeks after the U.S. launched strikes and captured Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro. Machado celebrated the action, but President Trump has said he does not believe Machado has enough support to lead Venezuela. Machado spent 11 months in hiding before emerging to accept the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize in Norway last month. She says she'd like to share the prize with President Trump. However, the Norwegian Nobel Institute says the award cannot be transferred, shared, or revoked. The Justice Department opened a criminal investigation into Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. President Trump has publicly lashed out at the Fed chair over interest rates. NBC's Melanie Zanona has more on how lawmakers are responding.
Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell speaking out on the Justice Department's threat of a criminal indictment into the renovation of the central bank's office buildings. He claims the subpoenas have nothing to do with the makeover, but rather just President Trump's latest way to try to control the Fed's decisions on interest rates.
The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president.
Powell said the DOJ served the Fed with subpoenas on Friday. But the president has been unhappy with Powell since before he took office, wanting deeper interest rate cuts. He's routinely attacked Powell and board members. In an exclusive interview with NBC News, the president denied any knowledge of the investigation and said he wouldn't think of using a legal inquiry to pressure Powell.
If the investigation is warranted, then they have to play that out. We'll see what happens. The allegation is serious, so we'll see.
Democrats say this is a power play.
Trump is trying to push out the chairman of the Federal Reserve Board and complete his corrupt takeover of America's central bank.
Republicans also unhappy with the DOJ investigation. Senator Lisa Murkowski calling it an attempt at coercion And Senator Tom Tillis, who's on the banking committee, says he will oppose the confirmation of any nominee for the Fed, including the upcoming Fed chair vacancy, until this matter is fully resolved.
Every single living former Fed chair signed a statement calling those subpoenas an unprecedented attempt to undermine the independence of the central bank. Melanie Zanona, NBC News, Washington.